Thomas,
Hi, Tiffany. Hi, Jason.
how are you doing?
I'm okay. A bit tired from all the hard work, but otherwise I'm good. How are you guys? I believe you got some snow finally.
It's coming down, yeah. We're doing good though, yeah. Just keeping warm. It's very cold.
Yeah, it's cold here too, but no sign of snow.
Yeah. You said freezing fog though over where you are.
Yeah. I live in a river valley, and it's kind of neat. I like it. It's kind of a spooky. It looks like the beginning of the X-Files when the car lights are coming up the road and things like that. Or when I walk out in the backyard with a flashlight, it had the beam goes off forever. But it's very ethereal, the ground fog, and it's only because I live near in a river valley. But yeah, I mean it's good. It actually is kind of like spooky in a kind of artistic way.
Nice.
When it gets really cold here, we have the Columbia River that runs through our town, which is the second biggest river in this country. And when it gets cold enough, is it a half a mile wide? I don't know. Yeah, I think it's about a half mile wide.
Quarter mile wide.
Yeah, but it steams because the water will actually be a little bit warmer than the air. And so it's just this thick, solid cloud that goes on for miles and miles. It looks really cool.
But it sounds beautiful, actually.
Yeah. I'll get a picture and post it.
Not too far from it. It's just maybe about less than a quarter mile east of here is the river.
Yep.
So got that energetic flow coming through the house.
Yeah, it's good stuff. All righty. You guys ready for this?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, here we go. I was really excited about this one. Okay. To join this community of people who speak to the dead, prepare to be tested. Think you have what it takes to be a spiritual medium in Lilydale. From the outside, this small rural community in upstate New York looks like many others in the state. Victorian cottages cozy up to one another in various shades of green, white, and yellow. Large red oaks dot sidewalks, stretching their long limbs into a vibrant canopy. But look a bit closer and you'll see the medium open signs or stumble upon the healing temple or the community's pet cemetery. Welcome to Lilydale, America's oldest spiritualist community. Lilydale was founded in 1879, basically as an adult spiritualism summer camp. People would come, set up tents, and then wait for the dead to arrive. Seances, message services, and classes followed. Back in the late 19th century, spiritualism was flourishing, and with more than 1 million followers, Arthur Conan Doyle, creator of Sherlock Holmes, actress Mae West, even Thomas Edison all joined in. The basic tenet of the religion is that life is continuous. In other words, we never die, we just change states of being. As a science, spiritualism is committed to proving the continuity of life by communicating with spirits who have passed on. What began as that tented summer commune now is a small hamlet with about 250 permanent and semi-permanent residents, many of whom are registered mediums. For about $80 to $100, you can sit down with a Lilydale medium as he or she relays messages from family members and friends who passed on, at least until your half hour is up. All Lilydale mediums are members of what's called the Lilydale Assembly, made up of members from around the world. And while all members are spiritualists, not all members are mediums. Some members live and work in Lilydale, others do not. All members can vote on Lilydale building decisions, community matters, and who is elected to the Assembly Board of Directors. The board doesn't allow just anyone to waltz in and start giving readings, though. Lilydale requires all mediums to go through a rigorous testing process to be registered and allowed to set up shop. Today, there are 36 registered mediums at Lilydale. Some, such as Gretchen Clark, have grown up in the community. Most, though, have bought homes and moved in. Regardless, all the mediums at Lilydale had to hone their skills and pass numerous tests before they were allowed to charge visitors for readings. In the early days of Lilydale, in the late 19th and early 20th centuries, becoming a registered medium was based totally on competency, says Elaine Thomas, a registered medium for 37 years. If you could talk to dead people, you were in. To become a medium today, though, there's a lot of volunteerism. Many of the programs on offer at Lilydale are only possible because community members donate their time. Every summer between June and September, Lilydale welcomes an estimated 30,000 visitors. Some are searching for healing or spiritual guidance. Others come out of curiosity or skepticism or because they didn't have anything else to do on that day. There could be a few thousand people on the grounds on the day and all kinds of activities going on, outside and inside. Every day at 1 p.m. and 5:30 p.m., two outdoor message services are held at the Inspiration Stump, a spiritually charged concrete covered tree stump. Have to remember that. At 4 p.m., another service is held at the Forest Temple, a white and green outdoor structure that dates back to 1894. Monday night circles where mediums give readings in small groups are held every week at 7 p.m. Needless to say, there's always a need for mediums to volunteer at these events, a way to show the Lilydale community what they got and demonstrate a commitment to its ethos. In the year prior to testing, I probably helped out with 27,000 message services. At these services, a medium gets up in front of an audience and, after a short prayer and meditation, starts listening for dead people. I'm getting a Mary. Marie, maybe an Aunt Mary. Can anyone claim a Mary? There's a beat or two of silence, and then, most of the time, someone raises their hand in the audience. Mary was their grandmother. Then the medium is thoughtful. Whoa, okay, sorry. When no one raises their hand, most mediums chalk it up to a spirit visiting someone nearby and efficiently move on to the next otherworldly guest. Then the medium is thoughtful, as if listening to the faint strains of a phone call on a bad line. Mary wants you to know that she's always watching over you and that she's walking beside you in this life. Thank you for visiting us, Mary. And then Mary leaves and the medium continues their work. So yeah, sounds like a interesting little community they have going on there in upstate New York. The pictures are really cool.
Oh.
It looks cute.
Yeah, it's just cute. It's like a little house on the dead prairie or something.
Inspiration.
Yeah,
stump,
I know. Some guy named Joaquin in a yurt saying, "Come see my inspiration stump."
It's interesting how upstate New York seems to be a big hotspot for this. I think it was actually spiritualism was actually invented up there by those two sisters back in the 1820s, whatever. And yeah, like all those places up there are kind of weird. Syracuse, Utica, Birmingham, all cities are all kind of like, they've all got big spiritualist movements in them still. I don't know what it is about up there that attracts that vibe. You know how I feel about all this stuff.
Yep.
Yeah.
Same.
Unless they've just actually moved over. You're not talking to your Auntie Mary or your Uncle Bill.
Or your
Right.
or your Uncle Mary.
That's also the part of the world Whitley Strieber had his experience this in communion.
Yeah. I really do think like what's his name? Manny Grossman, who's over there. I really do think that there is some sort of like geomancy portal there, and there could be some kind of entities, just like the Reiki people are using demons to go into people's bodies. I would imagine like there's some non-corporeal entities that these folk are working with. And like they said, not just any old medium can come along and be a medium. Only people who can have a sympathetic attachment to the particular entities that they're working with, potentially, who might be able to go in and read the people in the crowd and say, oh yeah, you know, Joe Schmo over there has a dead Aunt Mary, and they can look into Joe Schmo's memories of Aunt Mary and pull up pictures of her into for the entities to communicate with, but not actually communicating with dead Aunt Mary. They're communicating with some sort of entity that's probably feeding off of them.
Yeah, that probably is. And up there in upstate New York, it's full of mountains and they're all full of caves. And you know what happens in caves and what goes down in them. I saw a medium, a famous one, years ago here in Ireland, and he was a total shyster. He was going around at this hall, and he was raking in lots of money. He was going to every town and packing out halls all over the place. He's an American guy. He's quite famous. I don't know, I forget his real name. He was famous back then.
Was it John Edwards?
No, he had like a different name, almost like a German sounding name. I think, and he came across as kind of gay as well. I can't remember his name. But anyway, he was saying things like, I keep hearing the name Sinead, Siobhan, all Irish names, Michael.
Yeah.
Patrick. There's a Patrick coming. I'm hearing a Patrick. I'm seeing something to do with a rosary and someone called Bernadette, you know, this kind of thing, you know. And then so I was talking with someone who saw him in England the following night, and he was saying things like, there's an Elizabeth here, a Clarissa, how about a James? James seeing something to do with the Napoleonic Wars, you know, like it tailored to each community he went into. And it was kind of, you know, and I'd say most of the people that went there came away like thinking he was the real deal, you know, that he was but I was very skeptical. Well, I know he was making it up. But the cold reading things. But then I kind of like had a different heart about it later on. And I saw people crying and stuff because they're like their mothers. I got one guy, his mother had recently died. He was an older guy. He was in his like 60s and his mother was in her 80s when he died. And he was like definitely comforted by what he heard. So there was kind of like two ways of look on it. It's like, yeah, he is kind of preying on these people, but at the same time too, I saw genuine help that was given to people who were going through a difficult time. You know, women had lost babies and stuff, and they did make them feel better. So it's kind of a weird one, isn't it? It's kind of like, you know, it's one of those deals with it's a deal with the devil that sometimes is kind of like, you know, it belongs to the angels or something. You know, it's just I kind of you know, I saw that there was a lot of good was done with it too as well. Even if it was a lie, it was still a help. It helped people feel better.
It really reminds me of in that scene in Moonchild, or where it's her birthday. I forgot the main character, Liza, the main character's name.
Yeah, Liza.
And it's her birthday, and they have the medium come over, or maybe it's right after her birthday. But it's the whatever black magician it is that's the antagonist in the book, and like you don't realize, or the reader doesn't realize, that there's like right in the middle of a magical combat, essentially, that there's like this superficial, like they're waiting for raps and taps on the table, but really what's going on is some sort of energy harvest where the tapping on the table is just like a superficial distraction. But underneath that, there's a magical war going on between Simon If and whatever this character's name is.
Yeah, I mean, there's a great part of the book, actually.
Yeah,
I mean, I do believe that these mediums and spiritualists do have powers. No doubt about that.
Right.
A lot of them, it's the nature of what they're bringing through is that I don't think they're fully all aware of.
Yeah.
You know, and maybe some are.
Or they're a puppet for someone else that's got, you know, God, what's the character? SR. I know that he Crowley abbreviates the character's name in Moonchild, right? It's like SR something, right? Single rich something male. But anyway, the medium could be like a conduit for an entity who's being controlled by someone else. So it's like the person out there who's doing the cold reading might not have any idea that they're being used by some sort of pathological magician, and it just has some sort of entity attachment and is able to see stuff into people's, like see pictures in people's minds because that entity is going out there and pulling psychic energy off the targets.
Well, the proof that's an entity is people will always say, he knew things that only me and my dead brother knew. He knew it. He mentioned a place that me and my dead brother, when we were kids, used to go to. Now, entities are known to know these. They go into people's minds and read them. And that's what the Cunning Man thing was all about. That film, did you ever see that movie, A Field in England? It's very interesting. It's set in the English Civil War, and it's this Irish black magician guy type character. He's trying to find buried treasure. And he gets this guy who's kind of like suffering from post-traumatic stress from the battle. It's a very well done artistic film, how it's filmed. And you don't actually see the battles, you just hear screaming behind these hedgerows. You hear battle noises, but this guy comes through the hedgerow, almost into another reality. And what he does is the Irish magician guy puts a rope around him and has him like a dog to try and find like a metal detector, the buried treasure in the field. And he's using an entity to possess the guy to find the treasure. So this is the whole cunning folk thing. They used to use like Oberon or entities to go find lost money or things like that. Or it was a big thing in horse racing. If a horse was lame, the kitty scratched it.
He jumped on my back.
Yeah.
If the horse, he's turning into real life. What's his name? What's that kitty? Smudge.
Oh yeah, I know.
Yeah, exactly.
we just need a salad in front of him.
I know. But yeah, so the film's interesting. It shows that thing. And I think, yeah, that's probably what's going on. I think you're right about that, Jason.
Yeah. Samantha asked about the caves. What goes on in the caves? Jinn, right? Is that what you're referring to?
Yeah, well, it seems to be that like as mining has ended, and a lot of abandonment. I think like all these ghost hunters that go to these old hospitals and they see these black shadows and stuff. And some of the videos that come out are very plausible and they're definitely something. I think that's all gin. I think there's a lot of gin now in Europe and North America, and they don't like human contact, and they go and live in caves or old mines or abandoned hospitals, and these places become haunted, and that's a big thing. So they're it's interesting that they're kind of like they've made homes in the ruins of the Industrial Revolution.
Yeah. And I always think it's real interesting, like with the, I've been reading the Lesser Key of Solomon, the Samuel Liddell, McGregor, Mathers, and Crowley version, where they have the translation of the Clavicle of Solomon, and how it seems like back in that era, the kind of Golden Dawn era, or even going back, I want to say to the 1600s, how the church was using the Goetia for exorcism. So it's like within the the Lesser Key of Solomon, you've got all the evil spirits, but some of them, for finding treasure. I think King Paimon is one of the ones that can find treasure, I want to say, and there's a few other ones in there. But that just whole idea that, for a long time, people have been communicating, with entities for this kind of thing. And now it's kind of the whole stage magic craze, which I want to say that came about in like the mid 19th century, stage magic. Once when the theater and the opera house turned into a venue for folks to get together out, imagine stage magic, where you had legitimate sorcerers and legitimate magicians who, their stagecraft might just be, again, something on the surface for a greater understanding of the occult beneath, which,
that's the great secret of stage magic, is that some of those guys are doing the real thing.
Right.
And the ones you think are not doing the real thing, like David Copperfield, really are.
Yeah.
He's got like the biggest occult book collection in the world.
Really?
Oh, and he started collecting these books when he was 12 or something, and he was, so he's not only, he does the real thing and the entertainment thing.
And then with that whole crowd, you've got the hypnotists too, who are probably the real dark sorcerers, the ones that go up there and hypnotize someone on stage, and then they're making willing fools out of people who are willing to get hypnotized and have post-hypnotic suggestions installed in them. And it's just, that's one of the things I've got no patience for, people who will deliberately hypnotize another person. Like, I know people will say that neurolinguistic programming and all of that can be used for good. No, if you're controlling someone outside of their will, that's a really dangerous thing.
Yeah, it's wicked as well. It's profane.
Right. So, yeah, but those stage magicians who hypnotize, I got no patience for them. And I served with a few people that like, oh yeah, I'd go on, or this one guy in particular was bragging about this one time he got hypnotized, and there's just something not right about the guy. Hope you're not watching them. I don't think you'd ever watch the show.
What you call it? I know a guy who worked on David Copperfield's TV special in New York. He worked for the TV company, and he was involved in he was there as an insurance appraiser to make sure no one got injured and stuff like that. And he said to me, Thomas, the Statue of Liberty disappeared.
Yeah.
He said I could see stars where it wasn't.
Yeah.
Wow.
How much of that is group hypnosis, where they hypnotize the entire group because you can reality's malleable, right? So
Michael Talbot gives you examples of that. Hypnotists who say your daughter isn't in the room, and the daughter's standing between him and the hypnotist, and he goes, your daughter's standing between us, and he goes, no, it's not. And he said, what am I wearing? And he's able to see right through his own daughter,
right,
because he's been hypnotized to think she's not in the room.
That's right. And
that's, I think, probably something like that happened with that. Also, the Statue of Liberty is a spooky thing anyway. I had friends who lived on Staten Island, and they'd take the ferry late at night coming back from Manhattan, and they would say some nights it would be really close to the ship, and other nights it would be really far away. It was almost like some nights you wait for its head to turn and look at you. It was almost alive. Mm-hmm. But yeah, that guy said to me, no, it did vanish. It actually vanished. I asked him, how did they do it? Did they And he says, no, it vanished. He says, I can tell you it happened. It wasn't there. I could see the stars in the sky where it was supposed to, that was been blocking out before he made it vanish. So that's mental, isn't it?
Yeah, and just like that same thing you've been talking about, or we've been talking about with the 9/11 Stargate through today, it's like there could be, if there is saying that there is maybe another reality that's been split off from this one, and they're running parallel, that could be a hypnotism thing where a tremendous group hypnosis through media, or
you find the reality where the Statue of Liberty was never built.
Yep, or the Twin Towers, or
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, or the Rona, whatever it happens to be. But all that, again, New York, the cave system that goes down there through almost a tremendous part of the East Coast, right? I think I want to say those caves that cut in and go west a little bit diagonally with
Appalachians, yeah.
Yes, yep, the Appalachian Trail, and which I think goes down through the continent, which will segue nicely into the next story we have here.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Wind from Earth's middle layer blows through a secret passage beneath Panama. Researchers just discovered a geological hidden passageway. A geological secret passage beneath Panama may explain why rocks from Earth's mantle are found more than 1,000 miles from where they originated. This opening, located some 62 miles below Earth's surface, may allow a flow of mantle materials to travel all the way from beneath the Galapagos Islands to beneath Panama. This never before discovered form of transport may also help explain why Panama has very few active volcanoes. On the west coast of Central America, the Cocos tectonic plate is diving down and pushing oceanic crust under the continental crust of the North America, Caribbean, and Panama tectonic plates, a process called subduction. This subduction zone creates a line of volcanoes called the Central American Volcanic Arc, where lava pushes through the boundaries. But the volcanism stops in Western Panama, which sits on the Panama Plate. Let's see here. This relative piece has long been a mystery. Now, Bickert and his colleagues report in a new study published in November 23rd in the journal Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences that the culprit may be a window-like opening in the Cocos tectonic plate that's being pushed down towards Earth's center. Bickert and his colleagues are trying to understand more about how subduction works near Central America. The subduction of the Cocos plate under North America has the capacity to cause large earthquakes, including the 2017 Chiapas quake, a magnitude 8.1. To learn more, the researchers delved into the geochemistry of the region, collecting volcanic rock samples as well as gas and fluid samples from hot springs. They were interested in looking at ratios of molecular isotopes, which are variations of the same atoms with different numbers of neutrons in their nuclei. In this case, the researchers were partially focused on isotopes of helium and lead. Different sources of geological material typically have different compositions, so we can track the contribution from the different regions of the mantle. The mantle is mostly made up of silicate rocks, which are rocks with a particular structure of silicon and oxygen atoms. But the precise composition can vary a lot over even small distances. The researchers found that there were some strange anomalies under Central America. We found that in particular places of Central America, namely Western Panama and behind the volcanic arc in Costa Rica, we have some exotic signatures that really resemble what you have in the Galapagos Islands. This was strange because there was no clear way to explain how mantle elements from the Galapagos could get all the way to Panama. The researchers then turned to seismic imaging of the mantle, which uses earthquake waves to map what's beneath the surface, and computer modeling to try to explain what might be going on. They found that deep beneath Panama, the buried portions of the Cocos plate may hold the answer. When a tectonic plate slides under another tectonic plate during subduction, that subduction plate doesn't just disappear. It retains its structure as it grinds down into the mantle, only gradually heating and warping. Just beneath Panama, there is a hole, a window through the slab that allows for the influx of this mantle component. This window may be the result of a natural pre-existing fracture of the subducting Cocos crust, or it may be a place where the crust snapped during subduction. Either way, it lets materials pass through from one side of the plate to the other, like a breeze through an open window. That left the question of what might be driving the breeze. The researchers found two possibilities. The first is that the materials are moving through the Panama fracture zone, a zone of cracking in the crust and upper mantle that connects the Galapagos to Panama. but it's difficult to see what would drive long-distance transport through that zone. It's not clear whether such transport is even possible. A more likely scenario, the researchers found, is that the typical large-scale circulation of the mantle simply drives materials through the opening in the subducting slab. When we have done the modeling of the mantle circulation in this place, you expect this deep global mantle flow. The existence of the mantle window can also explain the lack of active volcanoes in Panama. Water locked into the crust of the subducting slabs tends to promote the formation of volcanoes because the water lowers the melting point of rocks, leading to the formation of magma. The opening of the slab under Panama means there is a gap in the water-rich crust in that spot, which in turn means it's harder to get melty magma flowing there. The mantle flow the team discovered is understudied, but there are unexplained anomalies in the chemistry of the mantle all over the world. The team hopes to conduct a similar analysis in Chile next, but ultimately wants to expand the method around the globe. No one's been thinking about this process before, so I just want to consider all the data and what can be possible.
Yeah, I think it's so interesting how like that part of the planet, there's just such a flow through there, whether it's a flow of shipment and everything with ships going through the Panama Canal. And then also there's this this seemingly tunnel that's there underneath it, that there's got to be some sort of geomantic energy that uses that part of the world to fuck. Sorry, everyone. Cat jumped out of my back.
He concurs with you.
Yeah. So yeah, geomancy.
Goddamn, guys.
He's just getting the hype right. He's excited.
Yeah.
But
Like
he's happy. He's happy. That's what that means. But yeah, it sounds like a vein or something, doesn't it? An artery or vein of fire or something like that.
Yeah.
Like plays in the whole thing that the Gaia thing, that the earth is a living being. Like, and that's its kind of like pulmonary system or something like that. Or its nervous system.
Yeah. And just again, like that, there could be passageways underneath the earth that that these entities live in. That the jinn have found. You know, I forgot who it was, but I want to say it was one of the guys that's on Gaia nowadays, who was talking about the different volcano tubes that I want to say was part of the old Freemasonic lore somehow, that there's those tubules that go underneath that have a tremendous amount of the magma tubes that have a tremendous like geomagnetic anomaly within them, that somehow there's an energy flow that goes to those volcano tubes, and perhaps that those energy flows are what might be what's guiding the jinn, or that you know, is some sort of, again, like this synovial system within the planet, like you're saying, that, you know, the planet is alive and has its nodes and has its energy and everything, that that this could be some kind of like nervous system to the planet, and you know, the jinn and everything that have alleged what the jinn were here before us. Is that right? Or did they show up after us? Who knows?
They were here before us. Yeah.
So, yeah. And I would imagine that since they've been here before us, they would have a knowledge of the way the circulatory or the lymphatic system or the nervous system of the earth works. And since they themselves don't.
The story that Timony read left with a bit of a teaser at the end. It said, and other unknown anomalies in these flows, but they didn't actually mention what the unknown anomalies were. I'd be interested to see what that is. You know, maybe strange magnetic things or something like that. But yeah, I mean, I'm trying to. I know the Galapagos, that's like off Chile or somewhere like that, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
And the Panama that's some distance. My God, that's thousands and thousands of miles. Yeah, I mean, it's just it goes to show they don't really know a lot of things, do they? You know, that they're really making up in a lot of ways as they go along, and that to me sounds like an animal with a body, a nervous system or a pulmonary system driving its energy around itself. And I bet that's not the only place to exist. I bet it's all over the world.
Right.
And probably a big grid of them. Maybe that's what the grids that form energy lines are actually really them things deep under the ground. They're deeper than we can even. They're so far down under the ground that you can't detect them, but except dowsers can detect them and things like that.
Yep. Yeah, and I've been wanting to get Court Lintal onto the symposium, because he's done a number of videos where I think he uses some of that geomantic information to show where, like, I want to say it's like how California curves a little bit, and different natural features on the planet are shaped by these lines, where it's probably like the way that the the Earth's crust moves and creates mountain ranges and everything has to do with these energy flows more than just more than just subduction and the different tectonic plate movements. That these energy lines are what moves and creates these subduction zones. But he could probably explain it way better. I had messaged him a while back in September, and I'll have to get back to him again. But if anybody else watches Court Lindahl's work on YouTube, you could reach out to him too and say that the guys at Beyond Room 313 want to have you on the symposium. But
yeah, it's a shame that that story doesn't have any more information. I'd love to know what those unknown anomalies are. That's a real tease they finished with there.
Maybe they had ships disappearing or people disappearing.
Yeah.
Or just, chunks of rock disappearing.
That's real interesting, like the Bermuda Triangle there off, and that right
Well,
off
it's
of the
interesting
border.
that it leads into the Gulf. And all that story about the blue water horizon, about the living oil that came up out of the ground.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if it's somehow connected to that.
Yeah. But yeah, so I really find all the underworld very interesting. I know there's the natural occurrences of the subduction and everything, and these tubes that are naturally made, but I do think that there's something fascinating about some of the man-made underworld too, and that these old mines and some of the old subway tunnels and some of the old catacombs beneath Italy.
Oh yeah, like that channel exploring underground abandoned mines on YouTube is fascinating.
Yeah.
And it's not a paranormal channel, and he comes across spooky stuff all the time. That he has to run out of the mine, hears voices and everything.
Right. Yeah.
Chains start moving by them. Big heavy chains start swinging by themselves and stuff like that.
I wonder what, it would be interesting if we could find out what anomalies they were picking up with their instruments.
Yeah. I guess if we can find the original paper that they referred to, it might be in there.
Yeah, that's one.
It's just weird how they just left that there and said nothing. Thanks.
Yeah. I mean, it was from one of those websites. It's like very, very like cold, dry, and pragmatic. But I would imagine if it were from a different source, the articles from a different source, they might have elaborated on it more. One of those very academic things for people with not much of an imagination. But I was talking to Tina recently about I posted the Respighi, the Pines of Rome, the movement Pines of the Appian Way, and she was talking about how beautiful that part of the country is, and that there's catacombs there too that are not open to the public, that you have to buy. You have to get a tour guide to take you down there so you don't get lost. That shit fascinates me, and I know it's probably like a dangerous idea. Yeah.
Malta, especially Malta, is nothing but underground passageways and caverns that go on, and a lot of them people have gone down and never come out of them.
Mm-hmm.
There's some quite terrifying stories. Malta's famous for that. Like this tiny island, there's these vast underground systems, and in Italy, there's these caves that are near. There's one near Naples, and it's one of these entrance to hells they call it, because boiling water and sulfur comes out of it all the time. But Italy is a very geologically active place. You've got Mount Etna there and Mount Vesuvius. There's still plenty of active volcanoes and stuff there, or just not that long dormant.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that place will be covered in caves.
Yeah.
But I found Malta fascinating. It's like, why this place is so small, has these vast subterranean systems.
Yeah, I remember the tie-in that I was going to be making. Whoever it was that did that, it wasn't one of the Gaia people. What's the guy that started it? His name. But anyway, he had the thing. It was that I just wonder if the people that some of the older previous civilizations before this one, before the cataclysm cycle, they all went down into the underground catacombs and everything to escape whatever, if it was like a
solar issues, yeah.
And that's where,
yeah. I think there's a lot of stories around the world of that, and there's like bones that have been found incredibly deep inside caves that they don't know how they even got in there, because there wasn't any soot on the walls from bringing torches down with them. So that's a weird one. Yeah, I think people have been going underground for thousands of years, and it's just one of those great mysteries.
Yeah. Jay Widener, that's his name.
Oh yeah, I know him. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think there's something that we're able to do as humans when we go into places like that, really deep underground and cave systems.
We can
like
evolve and change. Yeah, I think so. I mean, you heard of that phenomenon called the prisoner cinema. When you're locked in darkness for a long time, you start to have seeing these movies play in front of you of the people, and it was called the prisoner cinema because people were locked in prison in darkness started seeing it, and it's actually generated neurologically from inside the brain as phosphenes, and so it's images generated through phosphorus in the brain, which is really remarkable, and it's still not fully understood. But you see shapes that are the basic primal shapes of all human artwork, spirals and things like that. And I'd imagine if you were locked down those caves for long enough, well, we all know that women would stop menstruating because they wouldn't see the sun.
Yeah.
And it's like, I think it'd be like that film, The Descent. Now, not necessarily saying they become like cannibal monsters, but like that movie, The Descent, about the girls who are going down. You know, we saw that horror film. There's a bunch of girls who are going into a deep cave somewhere in America, and they basically encounter these people who adapted to live down there, and they're cannibals. And they use things like sensory movement and sensations of movement. They have a whole different way of moving around in the dark. And yeah, I think I agree with you there, Tim. And yeah, I think that would definitely happen.
Yeah, I think they probably did that for ritual work too, you know, going into these places where it's almost like a sensory, well, yeah, it's like a sensory deprivation tank and whatever.
Yeah, they would they'd find ways to live. They'd extract minerals from things like the water and stuff like that, you know, nutrients.
Yeah, I like that. But going down, and I would imagine that's probably where some of these ancient manuscripts that they use for modern, some of the modern Western Hermetic texts probably came from. You know, whatever it was the Rosicrucians came across, whatever it was the Freemasons found, and everything was probably remnants from the last civilization cycle that they're able to bring up, and you know, obviously color with their religious overlay of the era, you know, with the Abrahamic kind of template. But I bet that's where all those scrolls and tomes of occult information. It's like, imagine like us now, we need to take, you know, all the information that we have available to us in book form and bring it underground, so that if there was like whatever cataclysm and earth changes above ground, that we'd still have this information. It wouldn't just be, you know, when there was a new civilization that arose out of the ground, it wouldn't be completely ignorant. It wouldn't be, you know, just marauders and you know, thugs out there. You know, there still need to be mystics and magicians and, you know, wise men, wise women with this information to pass on.
Well, there are theories that the megaliths were built to probably shelter from a solar issue. Mm-hmm. And people stay in there during the day inside like things like Newgrange and stuff like that. And then when the sun went down, came nighttime, it was safe to come out. You know, so I mean, it's not an implausible theory. You know, obviously they couldn't stay down there all the time, but it wouldn't matter to become a nocturnal people. And so they'd be living in darkness all the time. Think about that. The only light they would really have would be moonlight and starlight when they came out.
Right. And
and maybe is that where star lore came from, you know, like astrology and things like that, and seeing this, because it was the only thing they could really see.
And I would imagine that the groups of people that went underground before civilization collapse, that took the information down there, would be the ones that would come up again and would be seeding, you know, this information into people's minds, you know, because there would have been survivors. There would have been people who found a way to survive under a bridge somewhere, or that, you know, there'd be all these people out there who don't have, you know, civilization information to call it. But, you know, once things started going again, there would be like a priest class or like a druid class of people that had this ancient or this information from the previous cycle. And I would imagine that's where some of these, Hermetic and, you know, occult societies came from, as they had the information from the last civilization, and were trying to bring it in, and, you know, brought back the technology of how to build buildings and all this stuff, because probably, you know, by the time it all came back again, it might be 2-3 generations past, and this information, basic mathematics, geometry, architecture, spiritual philosophy, and all that had just, you know, been destroyed in the last cataclysm. So there had to be like a group of people to safeguard this information. And then by today, you know, those groups have been infiltrated by, you know, the dark magi, and are now under control of them. But I bet at their original inception, they were designed to be the vanguard of this information once things reset again. And now you've got the Jeff Bezos types and the Elon Musk types now probably trying to do the same thing, where they're going up into their their starships and stuff and waiting for everything to go down. And they have every intention of probably coming back and seeding the generations of survivors.
Whatever bullshit they want them to know.
Right. So, but there'll be those of us who.
It's like that Moses complex, right? Come back with the 10 Commandments and shit and hit everybody over the head with it.
Yeah.
Moses complex.
Yeah. It's an interesting thing. There's no star lore in Celtic mythology.
And I've noticed that.
No. Now you could say, okay, this part of the world it's cloudy a lot, but still, it's not always cloudy. There's plenty of starry nights all during the year. But there's solar and there's lunar, but there's no star lore. And I often found that very interesting.
Yeah, where I'm from in New Mexico, there's Chaco Canyon there. That was the land of the Anasazi. And their star lore is incredible. It definitely rivals the stuff that's with the Dogons over there in Africa. Their star lore is in there.
Well, I've read about those guys. They even use the dark patches in the Milky Way as part of their star lore.
Yeah.
They actually believe, I think they come from those places, that they see them as their land masses in the Milky Way. These black gases, the black parts of the Milky Way are actually gas clouds.
Yeah, I've been out there several times. It's one of the most amazing, powerful places. You when you're there, you can almost, if you're quiet enough, especially at night, you can almost still hear them, chanting and singing. And,
you reach up and grab them.
Yeah.
I'd love to do that. I'd love to go there.
Yeah, well, one of these days we'll definitely go over there. That's one of my favorite places I've ever been to. It's really powerful.
That'd make a great film for Beyond Room 313, a Chaco Canyon one.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
All righty. Okay. Indestructible black box will record our planet's demise in minute detail. The disaster recorder aims to set us on a better path by watching our every move. Every commercial flight you have ever taken has been recorded. Every tug on the yoke and every adjustment of the throttle has been dutifully logged by a little recording device tucked away in the tail of aircraft. It's the infamous black box that search and rescue crews scan the crash site for any time an aviation incident occurs. Its observations are a clear account of how the whole thing went down. Next year, our planet will get one of these disaster recorders as well. Called Earth's Black Box, the project is meant to painstakingly record every step on our way to our planet's demise. Unless we dramatically transform our way of life, climate change and other man-made perils will cause our civilization to crash. Earth's Black Box website reads, the solar-powered vault will be roughly the length of a school bus and the shape of an upside-down curb stop, and the entire thing will be encased in 3-inch thick steel designed to withstand catastrophe, just as an airplane's black box is built to withstand an impact. And just like a black box is tucked away in the safest part of a plane, Earth's black box will be placed in the most secure location on Earth, which is Tasmania, apparently. When it goes online, Earth's black box will be filled with hard drives recording and storing climate-related information. This project, which is a collaboration between the University of Tasmania, a communications firm called BBDO, and an art collective called the Glue Society, is slated to begin construction in early 2022. The box will collect temperatures, measurements, ocean acidification data on land use, military spending, energy consumption, and human population growth. It will also scrape news headlines, social media posts, and information from key climate change conferences between heads of state. As an art piece, it is undeniably striking. The concept images show a sharp, angular structure lined with solar panels and situated on a rocky outcrop in a remote desert. Its severe angle suggests something otherworldly that will contrast the weathered rock of the landscape. Its intention is to be a silent observer, constantly absorbing information to provide an unbiased account of the events that lead to the demise of the planet, hold accountability for future generations, and inspire urgent action, according to its website. The idea is if the Earth does crash as a result of climate change, this indestructible recording device will be there for whoever's left to learn from that. Jim Curtis, executive creative director at BBDO, told ABC News Australia. It's also there to hold leaders to account to make sure their action or inaction is reported. While its usefulness to post-apocalyptic humanity is an open question, its value in the immediate future is more easily assessed. Despite the fact that construction on the project has yet to begin, its algorithms are already hard at work in a beta test that can be observed on the project's website. At all times, the data contained in Earth's black box will be publicly available as a time capsule of climate information. It comes to us at a time where the planet is on track to face a 2.7 degrees Celsius increase in global temperatures over pre-industrial levels. Ice sheets are destabilizing, fresh water is becoming scarce, and a record number of species are going extinct. While some might dismiss the project as being a monument to climate pessimism, the clear intention of this black box is not simply to record our impending doom, but instead to help steer us away from it. That is, even if it can only give us a nudge in the right direction.
Middle class debt cult again.
Yeah.
Yep.
Worshipping their long for demise because their lives are of no value. There's no richness in them. And they assume that if they're gone, then the planet has no reason to exist because they're so narcissistic. It's all about us. It's like the bloody doomsday clock. Remember that thing back in the day?
Yeah.
The debt clock, this kind of thing. This is like, this really brings home that point I've been making for a while, that it's a lot like the Aztec debt cults have taken these people over. And they, maybe that's what's driving the whole thing with the Rona and everything. If they think they kill them, if they sacrifice us to the Corona, the climate change won't happen, this kind of thing.
Right.
They're just like, and the rest, I shouldn't say that, but the whole bunch of them at the top, you can edit that out, the whole bunch of them at the top, they're obsessed with debt and the end of the planet. And they've got some kind of really bizarre neuroses and psychosis going on there. And I do believe that this is probably, the loyalty scheme that, as Christian calls it, is the modern version of sacrificing to the sun gods, the corona gods, the corona, the sun. And that's what I think the same entities that took over the Aztec elite and did those appalling things are now the same entities running the elites, the establishment today.
Well, and you can tell too, just by the feeling that you get when you look at the picture of the way that it's built. And like they even mentioned in there, it's in stark contrast to the rest of the natural landscape, where they're going to put it. And it's just that complete out of place. These fuckers don't belong anywhere near us. They don't belong making these types of decisions. And of course, then there's this will be this gigantic, strange looking, super futuristic, non-organic looking monument that they're putting out there to themselves. That's telling us about how we're all going to die. Like that feeling that I get when I look at that's really how it makes me feel. It's just, it doesn't belong here. It's going to do us no good whatsoever.
And this is going to be like this thing telling people like that they're all going to die. I think that going forward, this will be like the AI system that they're talking about that's going to be ruling the planet, where if it's got all the data from, climate change stuff and political stuff, like you're saying, that it's going to be reporting information about military spending and about, what was the other thing that they were saying, military spending, and also about keeping leaders in check, that somehow this will have some algorithm that will say, so-and-so country is doing X, Y, and Z, and A, B, and C needs to be done. And people would be like, well, the monolith has spoken, the AI that tells us that climate change and all this. And there's just, the Bezos class and the Elon Musk types, are going to have enough money to put into this, to fund this kind of thing. And people that go along with the social engineering will be all about it. This is how these
they're
decisions
writing
get
their
made.
own ending. They're letting their own ending be written for them by these people.
Yeah, so many people that have no lives. They've no meaning to their lives. And they subconsciously want to be killed by climate change. They want it to happen as soon as possible to put themselves out of their misery. They want the earth to die because it means that's the end of them and the end of their empty, miserable, nihilistic, narcissistic existence, not even life.
And that's why they really
that's why they love this stuff.
Yeah, that's why they really hate us, because we don't live that way. And on some level, they know that we're right about that stuff.
Yeah.
And it makes them very deeply uncomfortable with themselves.
Extremely. You can see someone like Windows Zero. There's another edit there. Windows Zero is that's a desperately unhappy person. You can just tell that.
Yeah.
You can just tell that, and he's not comfortable in his own skin, and he knows he's a fake. They know they're fakes. That you get that impression, but they know that they're fakes. But that's just the death cult stuff. That's the doomsday clock. These people have no value, no value. They don't live their lives. They don't enjoy the simplicity of existence. They don't know what proper love is or anything like that. And they're all dead NPCs inside, no internal monologue, and they want to die. They have a death wish to die. But the only thing is that they're trying to, at the same time, this death wish to die is being, that's what I think the needlecraft is about. It's being taken up to the Pyramid of the Sun in Mexico City and having your heart cut out in order to stop the sun god from being displeased, the climate god from being displeased. And this is just another one of their fucked up temples of this bizarre secular religion of the middle classes.
Well, it's their weird Ark of the Covenant they're making right now. And as we were talking about in the first or second story, that there's already the Earth is already a living being that records everything, that has memory, that has its own, system within it. And here these people are, like Timothy was saying, creating something outside of natural law, creating something analog to their weird digital dystopian future, rather than, with the technology mimicking nature. It's going
and that thing will become sentient. That thing is so big and so powerful, it'll become sentient.
Yeah,
it'll be like the Hajj in Mecca. Yep. You're going to have like a secular Hajj, and you'll have them all walking in circles like iron filings all around that thing in that big box, just like they do with the Hajj.
Yep.
All these climate change activists all walking around it in circles.
Yeah, and see, and the other fucking really stupid thing about it all is they're creating a box to record everything that's going on with the Earth. The Earth has already recorded it all. Mm-hmm. If they could get out of their own asses and just connect a little bit more with themselves and connect back to reality and nature, you wouldn't fucking need an AI box.
Yep.
It's all right there.
And that's what Timothy was talking about, with going underground and going into these shamanic states. It's like, these initiatory orders and everything, or these initiatory schools. That's what it's all about, is teaching you how to connect with yourself and connect yourself to, the way that the universe around you works. And once you've got that kind of connection there between nature and yourself, and that's drawn there, it's like you can learn how to right. You can learn all that information and how to live in harmony with the environment around you, with the other beings around you, with the animals around you, with, in creating art, bringing these things up from the collective unconscious as works of art, as film, as, cultures, philosophy. That once you have that connection, if that's what we want to talk about, is that line between Kether and Malkuth, not between necessarily a god, but nature, and the greater universe around us and how it works, that connection between it and you, the microcosm and the macrocosm, that's something that is done within you. It's not done by an external savior. It's not done by an AI box. It's not done by repenting for your climate sins. It's done by internal work, so that, you can do whatever pathway it is that you have to connect with that. There's different cultures throughout the world that have had their way of doing it. Whether it's the Dogon or out there in Mali, or whether it's the Anasazi in the Southwest, or the Western Hermetics, there's these different maps of the psyche that can take people to have a connection between that source and themselves, so that there's a harmony there, rather than this discordant harmony where they themselves, all these people creating the fucking box like this, probably their world is fucked. Their way of doing things doesn't work anymore, so they're projecting that out into the world, saying
disharmony,
the world
disharmony, that's the word.
Yep.
When all of us, when you were 12 or 13, you went through this kind of weird phase where you were kind of angry and moody and didn't know who you were and didn't know where you fit in. And everyone goes through it. Well, they'd go through that all their lives. They're unable to find an archetype for themselves. Because you need an internal monologue to have an archetype, to adapt to an archetype. and they don't adapt to any archetype except this NPC droid thing. And I think there's a lot of that goes on with them, big time. And they never grow out. They never have this. They have an itch that can never be scratched. They have this deep-rooted sense of being dissatisfied within themselves, and they see everything external as the cause of that, from the climate to us.
Yep.
And then looking for an external way to fix that, right? Rather than something within, all the problems are external and the solution is external.
Yeah, and that's why we're living in such a disharmonized reality at the moment. I mean,
They are.
Well, they are, but they're pushing on the rest of us with the crap, with the lockdowns and everything. But it was like Emmett posted something on one of my threads today. It says, like, the ultimate irony: you now need a Vax ID to go see the Matrix movie.
Yeah, or a health pass to eat at McDonald's.
Yeah.
Incredible, isn't it?
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just so obvious, and like we've talked about this so many times. Anybody just still can't. I can't help anybody who still doesn't get it. It's so bad. It's hilarious.
Mm-hmm.
It's just so bad.
Right. And at this point, it's like there is no way of helping anyone about it. It's like, I imagine we've all gone through so many incarnations that have prepared us for this point, where it's like you're either ready to go forward with things, or there's no.
Or you just understand the game.
Right. That's right. That's a better way to say it.
We've been around this so many times that we understand the game.
Mm-hmm.
That's why you see these children who are born incredibly wise and incredibly alert.
It's like it's the same playbook every time.
Yeah.
That's the thing that is so amazing to me is, yeah, we all have been through this so many times. It baffles me that there's still so many. Well, I guess that's the NPC phenomenon.
Yeah.
More bodies than souls.
And it's like what you said before, a lot of the people around are kind of the equivalent of reincarnate farm animals or house pets. I've met enough people.
That was Joseph Campbell who said that. I think that's a great observation.
Yeah. And what he was saying about that, just that idea. 'Cause you meet some people and it's like, they have the demeanor of like a reincarnate house cat or a loved dog, where the dog does everything that the human says to do. And these people have that level of, I don't want to say obedience, through.
Well, they're more like sheep. They're more like the sheep that they're called in derogatory terms, but that's how they behave, like sheep and cattle.
Yeah.
And maybe they are all those animals that are slaughtered in their hundreds of millions to feed us, come back in a human body,
Right.
You do wonder. I mean, that's what Hindus believe.
Yeah, that life force itself, gains complexity through experience, and it makes its way up and eventually can be as sentient as a human.
In the Celtic mythology, you have a thing called a somnolith, which is like it could be a salmon in one life, a person in another, a mother in the next one, a baby in the next one. It's to experience every facet of existence.
Yeah. So.
All right. Ready for the psychic weather if you are.
Yeah.
Is it bad? Is it great? Are you happy? Are you irate? The weekend psychic weather.
Well, with the psychic weather lately, I've been talking about the concept of the betrayal. That should end. That period of the betrayal that happens towards the end of December should end about Thursday or Friday, probably Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So you'll find that those people that were betraying you will be gone out of your life by then. They'll have moved on to their next target and so on. That cycle is now ending. In the general overall psychic weather thing, there's a sense of calm. There's a sense of inner peace. I think a lot of people have been feeling a sense of inner peace in the last week inside themselves. And that's, I think, primarily due to other factors outside. Well, it would be part of the psychic weather. I really do believe more firmly than anything else is that our converging, our distorted reality that took place because of 9/11 is now starting to move back onto the chronological vector that it was supposed to be on originally. And this is actually a good time for psychic weather as a whole for all of us to observe, because coming into Christmas is a time of memories and thinking about people you've lost, thinking about people, your life, and it's a reflective time after Christmas, the Christmas period. And this is also, I think we're going to see things that happened 20 years ago are starting to come back into our world. It doesn't matter how old you were. Things that will happen as we repick up the chronological timeline that was ruptured with 9/11 and starts to merge back again. So therefore, things like Mandela effects and so on, tremendous synchronicities and stories about animals appearing in places they should have been. You know, this kind of thing, this will be a big thing. As reality, the two versions of the overlapping realities are becoming closer. And this could end in a year or it could end in 5 years. Now, I've been messing with some calculations based on my experiences, and I think it's probably going to be in 5.5 years from it was 5.5 years from autumn 2019. So we're looking at in a few years in the future. But there definitely has been, the ball has been rolling since then. And we're converging back, and you will find that things that you had lost interest in, that you were interested in prior to 2011, you'll start becoming re-interested in them. Musical styles, you'll see fashions coming back. You'll see, you know, the thing I would love to see the most, and I think it is if we concentrate on it, we'll get it, is that as this is where all the lockdowns and our psychotic politicians and media is what that is their reality is now falling apart. And they can't get back into the one that we were in. And we're going back into that one. And they're losing their minds, and they're trying to hold us into this one. And what's going to happen is we will get back to a world where politics and media was just like it was 20 years ago. You had left-wing parties and right-wing parties. You had the mainstream media just reporting the news without actually trying to control your mind. And I think in the next 3 or 4 years, we'll get back to that as this reality collapses. But I'm convinced of this more than ever. So the psychic weather is you can relax the whole thing of betrayal. That's going to end on Thursday and Friday, or Wednesday to Friday. That there's a sense of calmness, enjoy it. You must use this calmness to be reflective on the past year. It's a very good thing to do. And also pay continuing attention to this reconnection of the ruptured matrix that's now starting to repair itself. And that's the week in psychic weather. And I guess it could be also the year in psychic weather, because the greater picture of the ruptured matrix happening will continue on for another couple of years. So it's also the year in psychic weather, I guess, too. There you go.
Is it bad? Is it great? Are you happy? Are you irate? The week in psychic weather.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. I'm glad that you brought up the process of introspection around this time of year. My path to introspection has definitely increased over the past few days. And yeah, I think that's definitely something to be mindful of, especially with all the noise and everything that's around us all the time, you know, and even from our own selves, you know, I can be quite noisy to myself.
The winter solstice is about that.
Yeah.
Oh, there's one more thing I want to say. Don't be surprised if things mysteriously disappear. You put things that you had just vanish. Don't be surprised, and you can't find them. They're stuck in the old reality, and it hasn't come over. That'll be a very common one, and also people will vanish as well. And people that you knew 20 years ago might start coming back into your life again that you'd lost contact with. You know, you may have been to school with them or in clubs with them or something like that. They'll come back, and that's a big one. No, things will just vanish. I put that book down, I put that vase down. Where is it gone? And that's a big one to watch out for. And also changes in your local environment. I have noticed a hedgerow in town that wasn't there before. It wasn't there before, and it was a mature hedgerow. It was at least 15 years old, and it wasn't there before. I could see right through where that hedgerow was, down to the line of houses beyond it. Where the fuck did this hedgerow come from? So yeah. This is not, and also the moon on its side, what I saw a couple of weeks ago. Another few people have said they've seen that similar things. It's literally going pear-shaped around us right now. So don't be surprised if something you put it on that table and it's gone. It'll be the ultimate sock fairy experience.
There's another thing kind of like that that I'm wondering if you've experienced. Where we live, the little, I guess, the uptown part of town is just up the street. I've lived here for a very long time. I don't know why, but the last few times that I've driven to that part of town, and it's just around the corner, to go to the grocery store or something, I get so fucking turned around, and it's not a big area. It's very small, like maybe 3 square miles. And I'll be driving to the grocery store and take the turn that I know that I should have taken, and then all of a sudden I'm in a dead end. Like it doesn't make any sense why I get so fucking confused and turned around. And it's only been very, very recently that when I drive over there to go to the grocery store or something, that happens.
I bet everybody in the chat has had similar experiences like this lately.
Yeah, let us know about it if you've had anything.
Another one is sat navs that may actually really strange because they're trying to find a route that doesn't exist.
That's been happening to me a lot, yeah. Because I do the delivery driving for Uber Eats and one of the local companies here. And that's happened to me probably a dozen times in the last few weeks, where it's like the directions within the app, it'll take me into some random place that's just completely wrong. But yeah, so also what you're saying about 2025, you're saying 4.5 years or 5.5 years, whatever it was.
I'm just going by a kind of an anecdotal calculation of things that happened to me in my life that very much were tied into that post 9/11 experience, and yeah, I'd say 5.5 years from. This is a rough guess now. Well, it's a guesstimate, but it's a good one. It's based on the best I could do. 5.5 years after autumn, fall, as you guys call it, 2019. So whatever that would be, like 2024, would be something like that.
Yeah, or 2020, midway through 2025, and I think Cliff Ice talked about that date. There's a number of people that have talked about 2025, some sort of change then. And again, everybody's also talking about February 2022. So it's just these dates that multiple people throughout the alternative scene have pegged certain associations to that have a general kind of same general kind of flavor.
So those things we just talked about, things that just vanished out of off, you can't find them. Strange anomalies like sat-navs actually sending you down roads that don't exist and things like that. Light up the comments in the YouTube section for this, because we want us to retain this as a kind of an archive of the shift.
Yeah, it's a really weird physical phenomena that happened to me when I was driving. Like you're saying with the sat nav, it was like my internal navigation. I've lived here for so long, I just kind of know where to go. I don't even have to know the names of the streets most of the time. It was like my internal compass was just spinning. I totally lost like a handle on where I was going. Like I knew where I was trying to get to, but my directional sense was all scrambled. Yep.
And you're going to see birds and migrating in strange places and stuff like that. There'll be lots of things, but if you have these experiences in the comments, light them up. That's what the comments are for.
Yeah, let us know about all that stuff. We want to keep a running log of all of these experiences for sure. Okay, excuse me. Elon Musk advises young people to study careers related to these areas to be relevant in the future. Elon Musk has made many predictions about the future of society and the role that his companies Tesla and SpaceX will play. The millionaire has very strong opinions and is not afraid to express them in interviews, conferences, and even on social networks. This time, he spoke about the impact that artificial intelligence will have on the jobs of the future and mentioned the careers that will be safe. AI will make jobs a bit pointless, Elon said Thursday at the World Conference on Artificial Intelligence. At the event, they asked him if they should be worried. The development of new technologies has always made some obsolete jobs, but it also generates new needs. The question is knowing how to adapt. Although a machine can do the work that once belonged to one person, it now requires someone to control the machine. According to Musk, people who know how to develop AI software or program machines. However, there will come a point where AI can write its own software, so which jobs will be safe? The production and distribution of all sectors is probably in the hands of technology. What will be needed in this futuristic society will be human interaction. If you're working on something that involves people or engineering, it's probably a good focus for your future. Yep, that was it.
Sorry, my back is itchy. Sorry, I'm not posing for my sort of like homoerotic calendar.
For the merch calendar,
Yeah,
practicing your draping.
yeah.
Yes,
My name is Hans from Dusseldorf. Yeah.
The camera loves you, darling.
What was I going to say? Yeah, he is the Eggman. There he is, right there. Hey, you know, Humpty Dumpty is an esoteric poem, an esoteric rhyme, because nowhere in Humpty Dumpty rhyme does it mention that he's an egg. Interesting, eh?
No.
There you go.
Yeah, AI will make gods pointless. I mean, just listen to this guy. You know, he doesn't even know what a god is, really. You know, him and Brian Cox saying there's no life after death, there's no souls. They're just projecting their own emptiness into this world, and I'm just amazed by how many people on, you know, not the woke side, but the sort of like the tuned in side, our side, actually still think this guy is great. They think he's like some kind of great, like cool guy, because, you know, he's going to do cool things. And I know people who actually think that Musk is going to protect us from this stuff. They can't understand. They can't see that he'll make a speech saying we have to be very wary of where AI is going, and they'll go, oh look, he's on our side. He's against the transhumanism, and then it turns out that he has a factory building all these transhumanist things. You know, it's like they don't think straight, these people. But he's he's another one, no personality that has a weird effect over people. But yeah, I mean.
Yeah, I think we talked about him a little bit last week, and I mentioned the story of that gal that I ended up sitting next to on a plane that worked for him, or works for SpaceX, and she met him and just said he works 27 hours a day, never fucking sleeps, but has no personality. Right? Yeah, boring. Yeah. And this guy is telling us which jobs that we should have.
Yeah, they don't even know what being human is, and they're telling us what human is and what human isn't.
Exactly.
I still think that whatever is in that body, whatever is in the body of that's called Elon Musk, could be some sort of an entity from somewhere else. You know, we talked about Moonchild earlier, and it's like the idea.
Even his name. What kind of a fucking name is Elon Musk?
I always wonder, how the fuck they end up with these names?
And their kid, what's the kid's name? Something like some fucking serial number. Have you seen that?
Yeah.
It's like, who the fuck calls their kid a serial number? That's some. Again, these digital entities that think in terms of like, you know, how you name a file like on your computer. It could be like the year, the month, the day, and
that's
a descriptor.
Not what you name your fucking kid.
Right. And
so suddenly Michael Jackson with Blanket doesn't seem so bad after all.
Oh shit.
But it's like I would be pretty convinced that if there was some sort of other type of entity living in that body, the same kind of thing that came into Stephen Hawking and people like
where
that.
Did he even come from? They say he's from South Africa. Like what is his origin story? He just did they grow him in a pod or something? Like where did he come from?
Yeah, and where did he get all this money from? Nowhere, you know.
Yeah.
How did he get the money? Didn't he start PayPal?
Mm-hmm.
Something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. PayPal, SpaceX, and Tesla. I mean, yeah.
And he financed Facebook. He's probably a CIA agent.
Right. And PayPal, the infrastructure I want to say that they use is kind of networked throughout nearly almost all digital transactions. I want to say, I might be wrong on that, but I want to say that the source code or whatever it is that PayPal has got its fingers into nearly everything out there. So yeah. But yeah, it's just weird. He's got his fingers in nearly everything, and then his stuff has, you know, these self-driving cars and everything that they're trying, and you know, all these companies where they're trying to, what is called, they're building a underground, again, tunnels. They're building tunnels, right?
Yeah, it's a hyperloop thing.
Yeah,
high speed kind of transport system.
Yeah. And I'm imagining what kind of entities they can run into in these tubes down there. You fucking go in the speed of sound or something through a tube and crash into some entity, and you know, totally.
I know. It's you know, and why underground? Why can't they not build them above ground? I mean, it's not, you know, it's just so sinister.
Mm-hmm.
And everything.
They remind me of roaches in their whole like thing with wanting to be underground and it's just gross and creepy.
Yeah. Going underground for a non-shamanic reason.
Yeah.
Then this whole thing about the jobs and stuff about, you know, what's irrelevant. It's like, you know, the arts and everything. Like I can't imagine Elon Musk actually being able to understand aesthetics or art, and just this whole concept of functionality. Where I think there's another article, one along with this one, that he said that to Jeff Bezos or something like that, that he should spend more time working and less time in the hot tub. And just that thing like about him working 24 hours a day and taking like a half-hour nap where he puts his head down on the table. It's just that same kind of philosophy of working constantly. I've seen that with people within the emerging tech industry, where it's not just, I'm not talking about just like the engineers and everything, but all these people that work in the periphery of Zoom and these companies, that they do this thing where they expect employees to be basically on call constantly. And
oh yeah, when they go on their vacation, they're supposed to work on their vacation.
Yeah. And working from home, where home becomes just the place where you're based out of.
I saw that that's when I pulled out of business. What was it, 18 years ago? I saw that 16 years ago. I pulled out because I saw all that coming. That the future home office was your actual. You'd have no life.
Right.
Yeah. And people at the time I worked were excited about it, particularly women that wanted to have babies. Young girls who want, women in their 20s who wanted to have a family. They thought it'd be great if I could continue this work at home as an actuary or something. And I'd be telling them, do you really want to raise your child seeing you working all the time and that you're paying their utility bills for them and everything?
Yeah, I mean, you end up working more that way than if you just did your, whatever your hours are.
Yep.
Yeah, I've seen it. People getting up at 3:30 in the morning to get to the computer by 5 a.m. or something, and then working until late at night. And it's just this weird, like, there is no individual life at that point. It's they're kind of like connected to the board. They're kind of like a big hive mind, and that's just where all this is kind of going with that, and with this box that's collecting the big black box that's recording everything and making decisions. It's like that type of person, that archetype of the tech industry person that they're trying to make everybody into with the work at home kind of thing. Yep. Where you call in to work on your computer through Zoom like this. It's like that archetype is what they're trying to feed, this idea of this AI that's will tell you politically what to do, climate change what to do, carbon tax what to do, and where all this.
Too with the suicide pod thing that we talked about, you have to take an AI survey ready to let you know if you're competent enough to make decisions about if you're going to end your life or not. Like, you're not sitting down face to face with another person, maybe even like a family member or something. Like, how, what are the emotional consequences of this going to be? If I go ahead and do this, is there something?
No, it's just like George Bernard Shaw's committee. If you're fit to live or die.
Right. But you're going to be sitting there with a fucking computer screen, that has absolutely, it is incapable of having.
That's his humane gas. He said, I appeal to scientists of the world to create a humane gas to rid us of the useless population. Well, that pod is the humane gas.
Yeah.
And the AI will be like, yeah, your statistics for work are down. You haven't been blah, 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 blah,
kill
blah.
Yourself.
Yep.
Just kill yourself.
Yep. Give you the green. Yeah.
How old are you? 40, 45? You don't have a girlfriend? Well, what are you doing here?
Yeah,
right.
Kill yourself.
Yeah. We are.
Do us all a favor and lessen your carbon footprint. Just kill yourself.
Yeah.
Liquefying your remains, like my dream vision I had about people getting liquefied. And again, it's just
that machine does exist. That really does exist. That machine, that liquefied machine.
Yeah, but in my this dream vision, it's white with green trim, just like this toilet paper thing we got the computer on here. It's this weird, like, I don't know. I can still see it so perfectly, as if I'm standing in this crowd looking up at it, and it's just white, green trim everywhere. Everybody's in this fucking kind of robe things that look real similar to what the what are those idiots that lay around on the ground pretending to be dead called? They dress in opposite colors. Yeah, people dressed up like that, but white and green. So, and it's, so something like that, but liquefying people's bodies and uploading them with the smiley face kind of thing of, oh, they've been uploaded into the cloud, and everybody's all happy clappy with that, that music playing.
Right, like you're more valuable to humanity if we can liquefy your remains and use it as fertilizer than, if you were to stay alive and be happy.
Soylent Green, yeah, to make to feed to the genetically engineered mealworms that that you'll get with your basic allowance, your universal basic allowance. Yeah, and a 3D printed steak.
Well, and the Bug Max, y'all see that? The Bug Max. They're McDonald's is engineering a Big Mac made out of sterilized, grown in a lab mealworms.
Fuck. Da, 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 da.
Not loving it.
I'm not loving it. Yeah.
Not loving it.
No.
All right. China's lunar rover just discovered a mystery hut on the far side of the moon. Landing in January 2019 as part of China's 4th ever mission to the moon, the U-2 rover just encountered a mysterious cube-shaped object on the moon's Van Karman crater. From naval expeditions to find new lands to our first foray into the cosmos, technology has been humanity's only limit for exploration. And though America put a man on the lunar surface, China recently became the first nation to land a craft on the dark side of the moon, where it just discovered a mystery hut. China's solar-powered U-2 rover photographed the cube-shaped object in October while exploring the Van Karman crater. Landing atop the Change 4 lunar lander in January 2019 as part of China's 4th ever mission to the moon, it has beamed back imagery ever since. According to CBS News, China's National Space Administration itself described the object as a mystery hut or a mystery house when its Our Space Outreach program announced the find on December 3rd, 2021. While scientists don't believe the object to have been made by extraterrestrials, they are having fun pondering the alternatives. Was it a home built by aliens after the crash landing? Our space joked in the announcement. Or is it the Pioneer spacecraft of the predecessors to explore the moon? According to Space, the rover began trekking northwest across the lunar surface to photograph and analyze its finds ever since deployment from Change 4 3 years ago. Equipped with ground-penetrating radar, sensors, and panoramic cameras, the resourceful rover spotted the oddly shaped irregularity 260 feet away on the 36th lunar day of its mission. In Earth days, the discovery was made on October 29th, 2021, with the contrast of an extremely uniform horizon and a definite structure sticking out of it, leaving experts in awe. Scientists have since redirected the rover towards the object to find out more. U-2 will take 2 to 3 months to reach it. However, as the solar-powered craft shuts down when the sun is directly overhead to protect against overheating, and hibernates when there's no light at all. Let's see. Rather than a warning sign left behind by an advanced civilization, it appears that the mystery hut is likely an enormous boulder. The structure is situated near a sizable crater, leading experts to believe that this protruding formation was lifted from beneath during a meteoric impact event. While no one will know for sure until U-2 arrives to inspect the object in closer detail, the moon's many mysteries are often solved with simple explanations.
I think it's Aleister Crowley on the moon, and they're going to come up close on it.
Jack Parsons got me on the moon. Jack Parsons got me on the moon. I would say it's the lunar black box. I love these stories. I love these stories, and more of this kind of thing. I want it to be a megalith. I want it to be something interesting. You know, it's probably just a boulder, but who cares? I want more of the dark side of the moon. I want more exploration there. I want to see more of it. Fascinated by it. I'm fascinated by what it means to us as a people, exploring that, how it affects our consciousness, and how it ties into astrology even. So more of that, please. Yeah, I love these kind of stories.
Yeah.
Haunted world.
Yeah. I still think that the inner solar system would probably, if we were to go out and explore it, either by man or by by some kind of remotely controlled vehicle, that we would find ruins that are very similar to some of the megalithic structures here on this planet that were wiped out probably at the same time as some of those older structures were knocked over, and that there would be, I don't know, I would imagine that Mars, whatever rocky surface there is, the moon of Iapetus and Phoebe and some of these other structures out there that are solid would have some sort of remains of a previous civilization on it that
that one that Buzz Aldrin talks about. That's heavy stuff.
Yeah, Buzz Aldrin, and there's someone else too, or maybe it was Buzz Aldrin, but I want to say one of the other Apollo astronauts has a couple videos out there on YouTube too, talking about, I want to say it's Phoebe or Iapetus, one of those moons. But yeah, I really like that idea that there's something out there that was part of a human civilization at one point that whether it is humans, living on that planet organically, or whether it was leaving from Earth or for some other origin point and ending up there. It wouldn't surprise me if they at one point were just naturally living on these planets. That, if you had humans that for whatever reason were living on Mars that didn't fly there to Mars, but had lived on Mars and had their own civilization there. I like that idea. I don't know if it's possible or plausible, but to me, it sounds very intriguing to me. And, we talked about Stranger in a Strange Land. Isn't the character that Parsons is based off of a Martian? Yeah. And,
that Jack Parsons got me on the moon. That bit, that little jokey video I made. There are certain parts in that where if you look at Crowley's head inside the spacesuit, it actually looks like me.
Yep.
It's really weird. There's certain
First time
frame.
I thought it was you.
There's certain frame because it's I put the contrast up really high to make it look like he was in space. But it starts off looking like him, and then there's a part where it kind of bounces in the middle, and I swear it looks just like me. It's spooky.
Yeah.
Me when I'm gonna have a serious face on me.
Yeah. Yeah. And I see it too. Yeah.
Weird. Yeah.
Sometimes when I think about when I'm just thinking to myself, how do I feel about, other beings or whatever, living somewhere out in outer space, and, just kind of doing like mind Olympics with myself, just exercising, like how creative can I get with those thoughts and those feelings.
It's also tremendous fun to do those mind Olympics.
It is. Yeah. And it's sort of like whether or not there's, physical beings out there or whatever, it almost doesn't really matter, because I feel like as soon as we think about stuff like that in a creative way that, it's not afraid, we're just, being creative, we've created that thing out there somewhere in some form. So it's like, it's almost fun. Like, what can you think of that doesn't exist anymore? And so then you start to think of things that don't exist, and then they suddenly exist.
Yeah. Or is it possible that we could create life forms on Mars and on the moon by I hate the word, but manifesting them there? We're talking about Moonchild again earlier, and the idea of bringing a lunar entity into a human body. Could we do a reverse Moonchild of implanting a terrestrial human on, a terrestrial being onto the moon? Can we create?
Human beings have been worshiping the moon for a very long time.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's got to have some effect on it.
Right. I would like to think, could we bring the entity that lives within, say, Mars back to life? Because it's like, if that planet is considered to be dead, what would it take to reanimate the life force within?
Hibernating.
Yeah, kind of like an interstellar Cthulhu type of thing. But
dead but dreaming.
Right. And then you look at, I was talking about Iapetus and how it's got that ridge around the equator of it. And I would imagine, yeah.
And then even has the crater where the Death Star's radar part was. Really weird, that. As if we created that in our, it sculpted itself according. Well, the whole thing of cosmology, that like when they look into space and they see a new star field, it didn't actually exist until it was looked at. They create it by looking at it. The Hubble telescope is actually creating the universe.
So
it's could be the same similar kind of thing.
Yeah, it's like you could think of like the Hubble telescope as a wand, one of those big satellite dishes as a cup. There's all these different magical implements that we could
the ultimate observer effect is what? When you look through the Hubble telescope and particles start forming into waves on the other side of the universe and forming into galaxies and stars.
If people like us are observing it.
Yeah, amazing, isn't it? Amazing to think about, isn't it?
But if
we actually are creating the universe by looking through telescopes.
Yep. People like us are. Yeah.
Yeah.
But all those people that like are trying to make this AI, son of a bitch. If all these people that are making the AI are looking through these telescopes, what would they be projecting out there? If you take an Elon Musk and have him looking up through the Hubble telescope, what would he be projecting? And is that where some of these weird, strange space entities come from? Is the type of people like him looking out there? Like, are they projecting their own darkness and mocking it up as some kind of weird,
Well, something tells me we've already found that in the last 2 years, but something's going to tell in the next couple of years. We're going to find out a lot more crazy. It's going to become the world in Strange.
The world
Yeah.
is strange. Yeah. The life in strange.
And we'll still be here to report it.
Yes. Yeah. As long as the internet's still up and
We
going.
are the scribes.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
The observers.
But yeah, I've always had fun with that, that little thought experiment of just, what can I possibly come up with that, as far as I know, I've never heard of it before, some crazy possibility, and then just thinking about that stuff and then thinking it up and dreaming it up. And sometimes you come up with something that makes you feel really creative, whether or not it's a thing that ever comes to pass doesn't really matter. It's getting the gears going,
No. That's magic,
Yeah.
That's that idea of creating something that doesn't exist. Like that's beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, I think we wrapped our 25th report. 24th,
Yep.
24th report.
And the last one of we've got one more of 2022.
One more.
21.
One more.
Yeah. Yeah.
Cool.
Well, last day of autumn here in the Northern Hemisphere.
Oh yeah, happy
So
solstice.
happy solstice.
Everybody.
Yeah.
And this is a good show tonight. I'm looking forward to this, to seeing what manifests over the Christmas holidays in the world as a whole.
Absolutely. All right, you guys. Thank you to everybody who showed up and joined us, and all the comments and stories and everything. You guys are awesome.
Yep. Take care, and see you next time.
See you in the wild out there on the internet.
Thanks, Jason, for running the technical part again, and thanks, Timony, for getting the stories together. So
Thank you.
I look, that song by the Boomtown Rats. Tell me why I don't like Mondays. Well, now it's like, tell me why the weekend strangers, why I like Mondays.
Right.
Love Mondays.
Love Mondays.
Love Mondays.
Please.
All right, you guys. Bye.
See you all on the dark side of the moon.
Bye, Jared.
Jack Parsons got me on the moon. Jack Parsons got me on the moon.